It's time for your monthly temperature check on the real estate market. On this episode, we discuss the real estate market in August 2022. Listen to the real estate experts, Mike Reilly and Mike Ferrante, on what the housing market is like in Cleveland and what you can expect. Stay tuned and stay up to date on the latest market conditions on the Cleveland Real Estate Investor Podcast.
Hi, everybody. This is Mike Reilly with my partner, Mike Ferrante, Century 21. Mike, how you doing on this hot August day?
Oh, doing good, Mike. I'm sweating.
But you sound like you're down in the basement. So it's a little cooler. Anyways, going to be in the mid 90s on Wednesday. So apropos, August heat check. Give me some numbers.
Yeah, so I just ran these numbers, Mike. Everyone's expecting the market to come crashing, grinding to a halt. I just put out my latest YouTube video with all these exact numbers, but the kind of quick summary is that while certainly we are seeing a slowdown in the number of offers, multiple offers, offers over list price, that kind of stuff is slowing down. We're still not seeing a reduction in sales, no price drops, although you're starting to see listings have to reduce their prices. No real increase in market time. So essentially the market's staying the same, except there's just less competition.
Okay, elaborate. What do you mean less competition? You mean less houses on the market?
No, I mean competition among buyers. So we were, I'm sure you remember the story a couple months ago. We had a listing in Uria, 46 offers in one weekend. Well, those days are gone now. Yeah. So what's happening is the rates going up and some different factors are pulling some buyers out of the market. So there's just less competition for these listings. Now, the reality is, I'll give you a number here. There's only about 2,500 homes on the market in Cuyahoga County. Now, what's kind of normal for our market is between 5,000 and 6,000. And by comparison, during the big recession, there were 9,000 listings on the market during the recession when you couldn't sell a house to save your life.
Right. Interesting. So we're at the other end of the spectrum. I mean, we were at the other end of the spectrum, maybe a year ago, but now it's kind of creeping back to a middle ground. Is that the best way to?
Yes, it's gonna get there, but the reality is that we're still at that valley for listings. Yes, there was maybe 2,200 at the low point, but there's really only 300 more houses on the market than there were at the very low point. And I expect that's going to continue to increase, but it doesn't change overnight. Nothing. This is like a freighter. It's not a motorboat here. The economy, just like this real estate market, it turns very gradually. So you're going to see this changing over months and years, not weeks.
Okay, let me ask you a question, because back in the depths of the Great Recession in 2009, 2010, 2011, everybody was saying that buyers were just holding on their houses. They didn't want to be a landlord. They didn't, even if they moved, some people just walked away from their houses because they were just so underwater. But everybody was talking about, as soon as that market corrects, you're just going to have a flood of these people that want to sell their houses. What happened to that? Did that happen a couple years ago? And now we're at a point where the inventory, like you said, low?
Yeah, I don't think it was a flood. I think it was more of a trickle. So what happened was, yes, as the market corrected and as these houses increased in value, you started having people say, all right, well, now's the time I can finally get out of this house. I can finally sell. But that was more of a gradual trickle. The other thing that happened over those years when the builders essentially stopped building and you had this demand kind of swelling, there just wasn't a lot of homes like in inventory. So you have this perfect storm of no building going on, a bunch of people just hanging on to their houses. You had people moving in with family. And so now all of a sudden there's this huge burst of demand and not enough supply to meet it. Now, certainly there are a lot of investors, both the reluctant landlords, those people we talk about that became landlords, they rented their houses because they had to, not because they wanted to, but also your regular investors who are saying, hey, this is a great time to cash out. So you're starting to see more and more homes of that nature hitting the market, but it's not nearly enough to meet that demand that we have. You know, to go from 2,500 listings to 5,000, it's going to take a while.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. And people are just starting. And then, of course, you got supply chain issues where, it'd be all well and good to build a house, but where are you going to get the labor, and B, the supplies? And it's probably with the price of gas and everything, people stopped drilling for oil and processing because there wasn't any money to be made. So it's like one gigantic traffic jam.
That's
theory
right.
behind, the theories behind traffic jam when they did a study. This happened to me when I was in LA. I'll make this a real short story. First time with the family, this is probably 15 years ago. Kids were little. We flew into LAX. We're going to stay at an Airbnb in Ventura. We're going to visit some friends. It's in August. And of course, I'm on one of these freeways in LA. And all of a sudden, I'm driving along. We're moving along. All of a sudden, it's crawling. And I thought, stupid me from Cleveland. There must be an accident up there. Well, it turned out there was no accident. I'm looking around, and all of a sudden people are speeding again. It's because the science behind traffic jams is you get one or two people that start stopping. It sets off this chain reaction of everybody stopping. And if there's a lot of cars on the road, it takes a while for that people to resume driving. So it's like this, and I think everything starts seizing up. So I think what we're seeing with oil, price of gas, properties is we've had this mammoth seize up in the marketplace with the crash, with the pandemic, and all of a sudden there's this frenzy to catch up, and ergo price of gas goes up, price of homes goes up, and now people are saying, well, maybe it's time to start building a house. So
the problem with building is that the costs have just gone up so high. We were back in the day, not that long ago, we were talking about $200 a square foot. You could build a really nice house for that. Good luck now at that price. The most recent new construction listing I looked at, Mike, $294 a square foot. And it's nice,
okay.
but it's not the Taj Mahal, believe me.
So if you wanted to build a nice home, you're probably, let's just say Mike Reilly, owner of Reilly Paving and Contracting, we're going to get some of the crews, we're going to build our own house. And we want to build a 2,000 square foot house. So you're looking at what, 600,000?
If you were to hire it out. Now, obviously, if you're able to self-perform a lot of the trades like you could, sure, you could shave a lot of money off of that. But the average person, I just got a phone call about 2 weeks ago. I got a phone call from a guy saying, hey, I got your number from so-and-so. I'm just, average Joe Schmo. I'm kind of handy. What do you think about me building a house? And so I talked him through it, and the bottom line was, I don't recommend it. He's going to muddle through the process of trying to find his trades. He's going to make so many mistakes along the way that he might as well just pay the builder their 20% markup to do it. And that's the reality. It's really only about a 20% profit margin for builders. So, when you hear these prices, oh my God, $300 a square foot. And our California listeners are probably saying $300 a foot. What are they building, shanties? But that's the cost here. And not that long ago, it was $200 a foot. So it's gone up that much in just a short time.
Well, folks, you're going to hear more about this down the road. The mansion we bought, right, Mike? The mansion we bought. This is going to be what's now. This mansion is in my neighborhood of Cleveland Heights, and this is literally 12 bedrooms. And we decided we were going to cash out on our couple of our 3 and 4 bedroom houses. I'm not going to get into the details just yet. I'll kind of tease this out over time. But we basically sold 4 of our properties and it bought this 12-bedroom, just spectacular house, right? It is spectacular,
Oh,
right?
amazing. Imagine what it would cost to rebuild that today.
Right. It's all brick. It's got 2 huge chimneys on either side. All the woodwork is mahogany, the hardwood floors, the big kitchen, the 2 gigantic fireplaces. I mean, and the 3rd floor is all the servants' quarters. You got 6 bedrooms up there.
And it's got a
And
freaking ballroom on the 3rd floor, literally.
I know. So, anyways, those are the days. But our goal is to set this up as a real high-end short-term rental. I'm not talking Airbnb, because already one of my neighbors is freaking out over this. But I'm talking about a real specialized short-term. And there doesn't seem to be anybody in that market. Right, Mike?
No, there's really no one playing in that sandbox. We looked it up. Remember, we saw one in Medina, which is an hour and 15 minutes away. But if you're coming in to spend 3 months at the clinic for treatments or something, your choices are rent a handful of hotel rooms if you have family coming with you or your entourage or whatever, or nothing. There really aren't options. It's a hotel and get as many rooms as you need.
Right. And we bought this land because it has a vacant lot, just nothing but scrub and forest land. And that's what we're going to clear cut and, build our own house. So you'll be able to follow us whenever we get our quote unquote shit together and get our YouTube channel cranking up. You'll be able to follow us on our journey of how this Airbnb is, or I shouldn't even call it an Airbnb, because it's not even going to be on there. It's going to be on a specialized hosting site. So we will see. We'll keep you posted. So, everything's in flux. Let's get back to the August heat check, which is things are slowly getting to some kind of normal market. Mike, is that the best way to say it?
Yeah, and I would say when things were, quote, normal, you'd be looking at 30 days to sell a house.
Right.
That's kind of the gist of it. 30 days was a good amount of time to sell a house. And
hey, wait a minute, Mike. I'm going to put a silent sign of our LA listeners out there. Don't stop smirking, stop laughing, right? But 30 days was normal in Cleveland, right?
Hey, let's stop here. We got to pay some bills. 30 seconds, and we'll be back. If you've been listening to this podcast, then you understand, or should understand, the pitfalls of investing in Cleveland real estate. Say you're looking for an investment property to rent, and these are the things that could happen, and often do. You overpay for a house, and it's in the ghetto. Then you find that it's a money pit with endless surprise repairs. Your hapless property manager, who may be the brother-in-law of the realtor, gets a tenant who after 3 months stops paying the rent. Then the toilet explodes, and you have nobody to repair it because, guess what? The property manager is not answering the phone. Yep, that's the ugly side of the Cleveland real estate market. But we have a solution. Buy one of our properties. It's been inspected. It's been vetted. It's in a rock-solid part of town. It comes with a Gold Star tenant paying top dollar rent, and we manage it. Call us at 216-371-8160 if you're interested.
Yeah, I mean, there's those houses that sell in a couple days, but then there's also those houses that start out overpriced or have some issues, and they might take 60 or 90 days to sell, especially if they're not marketed well. But the average would be 30 days. Now, during our little boom that we had here for the last couple of years, we were around a week. 7 days was the average, and now
we actually had multiple offers.
Yeah. Back, over the past 5 years, multiple offers would come up maybe 1 in 10, 1 in 20 times. So that would come up and you'd say, geez, figures. We make an offer at the same time someone else did. For the last 2 years, that was the norm. You anticipated, you had to sprint to the house to write your offer as quickly as possible to get your offer in, just for it to be considered in the multiple offers that you had.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, again, then but the point of the matter is, for houses now to maybe get multiples, it's got to be move-in ready. It's got to be
Y-
cleaned up, the outside, right, Mike?
Yeah, yeah, we talked about that for so many podcasts prior to this big boom, where if your house didn't look pretty, it wouldn't be the first one picked. You'd be the last kid picked in the battle ball game. And it's going to start getting back to that because for the last 2 years, you could pretty much throw anything on the market. And because buyers were so desperate, you'd get somebody wanting it. Well, that's going to
Yeah.
change. Sellers, realtors, you have to step your game up now. We've got to work on our skills again and getting these houses ready because we're not all going to win the beauty contest, girls.
Right. And that gets back to, our mansion acquisition. I mean, we're thrilled that we got this house. We have the contracting side of our business that can come in and really do a job. But what was stunning about this was the investment company that bought this house out of foreclosure. Looked like they spent a considerable amount of money on the inside. The bathrooms are all upgraded, jacuzzi tub. The kitchen is huge. It's got a 8-burner Viking range. It's got 2 Viking, Sub-Zero type fridges there, granite. Everything looks like it's, on the main floors has all been painted. So really it's move-in ready, short of getting furnished. Meanwhile, on the outside, the windows are filthy. The landscaping is beyond a joke. I mean, it looks like a haunted house from the outside. Nothing's falling apart. I mean, it needs a paint job. It needs the beds are all overgrown. The pond, the koi pond is murky and muddy, and leaves everywhere, and trees, branches on the ground. I mean, you think if you're going to spend that kind of money on the inside, that you would at least spend a fraction of that on the outside. Your thoughts?
It's the low hanging fruit of house prep. You spend $10,000 on appliances alone. You can't spend a day's worth of labor to clean up the yard. I heard you say the words koi pond. I didn't even see a koi pond. You must have found that when you cleaned up the yard.
Well, no, it's on the patio side, and folks, you'll see that on our mythical YouTube segment. But I believe me, I've been on YouTube, which folks pay the $6. I'm not getting any money from Google for plugging YouTube, but I have to say, YouTube Premium, when you pay that $6 a month, is magic. There's no ads, and so of course I'm just deep diving on everything: how to clean up a koi pond, number one; how to take care of just a mountain of weeds. Should you kill the lawn, the front and the back, or should you aerate it and just reseed it, overseed it? So I'm learning, and I've been in this business for 40 plus years, and it's amazing what you learn. So yeah. So anyways, I was shocked, but hey, all good for us, because I mean, we came in with a solid cash offer, and we're prepared to, it'll take us a month to clean it all up. So,
Yeah,
and it should look great.
quick trivia question here for our listeners, Mike. So everybody knows that Google is the number one search engine. I mean, it's become a verb in our language, right? I'm going to
Kind of like
Google it.
Xerox.
Exactly. It's become its own word. Do you know what the second most used search engine is in the entire world?
I've got to play our Jeopardy music in the back, right? Background music. No, go ahead.
It's YouTube. When you think about it, YouTube is a search engine. It's set up like a search engine. You type in something, and instead of website results, it's video results. And so that means that Google owns the top 2 search engines in the world.
Wow. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, all right, well, let's wrap up this whole August heat check. So somebody out there, these LA investors who want to move to Cleveland because they're sick of spending $2 million for a postage size house, and they got to fight traffic and smog and now more forest fires. So they want to move to Cleveland. Is it a still a seller's market, or is it a lot, or you've got to start sorting through the bin of houses and find that penny to shine up like we did with the mansion?
Well, what was the Johnny Carson character? I think it was Karnak, wasn't it?
Oh, Karnak, yeah.
Yeah. Let me put on my Karnak Swami hat here, and I'll look into the future. And this is my prediction. Now, again, this is just an opinion, and you know what they say about opinions. But we're already seeing demand slowing down, and that's expected. Rates going from 3.5 to 5.5 and 6s now. You're going to have demand slow down. The last time I ran market time, we were at about 12 days from a very, very low of 7-8 days. So market time's increasing, demand is down. So what does that mean? That means that there's going to be more inventory. You know, the number of buyers is less, more houses hitting the market. And I think as winter approaches, that's when you're finally going to see the shift from a seller's market to a balanced market. I think we're years away from a buyer's market. You know, if we hit a deep recession, let's say, or if
which I don't think we are, but go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I don't think the deep recession like we've had starting in 08 is coming. But hey, the economy is cyclical. We're due for a recession. Recessions aren't necessarily bad things. It gives everyone the chance to hit the reset button. Good things come from recession. So I think we're heading toward a very slight recession. I think you're going to see the market shift, maybe become a slight buyer's market at some point. But for the balance of this year, it's going to be a seller's market. Come winter, yeah, you might start having a little bit more leverage as a buyer.
Okay, let me throw in a couple of things to wrap this all up to our listeners out there. Okay, now, you want to buy a house as an investor. If you're looking to invest your first house into the Cleveland market, you just look up Reilly Properties and you send us an email and you say, I want to buy an investment property, and we will sell you one of ours. That is a great way. And I'm plugging our own company here because we have a half a dozen of our clients, and they all start out buying Reilly Properties rental with a 5-star tenant in place who's paying the rent on time, who's taking care of the house. And it's a great way for you to dip your toe into the Cleveland real estate investment market. Okay, don't buy a house in a bad neighborhood where there's a lot of dollar stores around, or buy a dump that you have to fix up, because you won't be able to fix it up, because you won't, contractors are stretched thin. They're booked out months. So if you want investment property, you're willing to spend somewhere between we got one at 125, we got one at close to 300,000, and your rents are going to be somewhere around 10%. That's where you go. Number two, if you're buying something where you want to live, here's what you do. You buy a house, like we bought our mansion, which was like, what, day 70, Mike, on the market?
Yeah, that's right. Over 2 months.
Over 2 months. Look for the one that's over 2 months, and then look at the one that is real tired on the outside. Real tired. Dirty windows. Again, like our mansion. Overgrown weeds, beds, landscaping, because these people put it on the market and they thought they were just going to throw any piece of shit on the market and they would make a ton of money. Well, that's not happening now. That's not happening now. And that's why this house was on the market for 70 days. It needed a lot of work on the outside, and people were reluctant to, buy this dirty penny. So there are houses out there. I'm seeing a lot of them that are out there that are going past 60 days because they need work. Now, if you're going to live in that house, then that's the one you want to snap up and take the broom and clean it out, and just be prepared to do some work, or call us for recommendations on contractors, and we're happy to help you. So that's my 2 cents. Your final comments, Mike.
I'm with you, Mike. I always look for the house that needs to be cleaned up, that doesn't look good from the street. That's always been my philosophy in buying as well, both for investment properties and personal residences. So I'm with you 100% on that.
Okay, well, we'll end on that note. We got a hot day coming up in a couple of days and a market that's actually slightly cooling down. So, Mike, we'll pick it up in the next week or two. All right?
Sounds great. Always a pleasure.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you later. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Cleveland Real Estate Investor Podcast with Mike Reilly. Please add our show or follow us on Spotify, Overcast, Apple Podcast, or Spotify. Leave a like or comment on the video. All engagement is appreciated. Subscribe to us on YouTube as well for video content coming soon. For any Cleveland listeners or Cleveland Browns fans, you can check out our other podcast, Cleveland Browns Anonymous, for our weekly group therapy session. This is also on all the same platforms as the Cleveland Real Estate Investor.